Greetings, folks, friends, everybody. Tonight, I don't usually do videos like this, but in light of the news that just came out, I really think we need to start a discussion more with the people around us. And what I'm talking about is the news. If you haven't heard, the Hobby Lobby case was decided by the Supreme Court today, and they decided to side in favor with Hobby Lobby on being able to make decisions based on religion and social implications and morality for their employees, which to me is so anti-American. It just screams Taliban to me. It really does. I mean, okay, these are my religious beliefs. You're my employees, so you must follow my religious beliefs. That, my friends, is stuff the Ayatollah would be saying. And it blows my mind. It really does. I just don't get how a business interest trumps the interest of the employees or citizens of this country. And don't get me wrong here. I'd like to make this clear right away. I am not in favor of the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare, whatever you want to call it. Let's call it what it is. It's the Affordable Care Act. Now, I'm not in favor of this. I did believe that we needed something in this country for people to fall back on. You know, welfare is one thing. It is needed in certain cases. Welfare is needed for people. People do abuse it a lot, and I do not like it. But we did need some kind of affordable health care for people who either don't get it provided by their employers or people who just lost their job or something like that. Right now, we have this thing called COBRA. I'm not sure if any of you guys know about it. If you've ever lost your job before, first thing they do is they send you a letter basically saying that you're available for COBRA. And you're like, oh, great, let me look into this. Maybe I can keep my my health benefits or whatever, So then you look into it and you find out that it's upwards of $900 or more a month to maintain your benefits, which I just don't get. How the heck is it $900 a month? I mean, how is that affordable for anyone? And I really wonder how anyone ever gets COBRA, unless you're coming from some kind of like really seriously high-paying job and you have a lot of money in savings. I mean, I just don't understand how that's feasible. But then you've got this ACA, Affordable Care Act, where I just went on healthcare.gov a few minutes ago and I did the research. And it seems like if you're making somewhere in the ranges of like $15 to $20 an hour, you're going to end up with a plan that's going to cost you $450 a month, which may seem affordable for some people, but for people that are making $15 an hour, there is no freaking way, especially if you've lost your job, you're not going to be able to afford that at all. And then you're going to get a tax on top of it, which remarkably is about the same amount. Now, I don't see how that solves anything. All that does is takes your money and gives it to the health complex, and that's pretty much it. I don't see how that's helping people at all. Now, I was looking at the decision here for Hobby Lobby. Getting back to that. One thing that struck me, I was reading the actual decision from the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court brings up this question of, is it moral for a person to perform an act that is innocent in itself, but enables or facilitates an immoral act by another? Now, if you think about this, let's deconstruct this for a minute. In the context, Hobby Lobby doesn't want to have to purchase benefits in which an employee can go and get pills like the morning after pill, the week after pill, Plan B, or Ella. Now, these things, I mean, take them or leave them. If you don't want to use them, then don't use them. But you cannot tell other people that they can't use them. I don't get where people get this. Religious freedom is telling other people that you have to abide by their religious beliefs. It blows my mind. It really does. I just don't get it, how people think this. Now, let's deconstruct this some more. It is immoral for a person to perform an act that is innocent in itself, but enables and facilitates an immoral act by another. Okay? I'm an employer and I give you money. Okay? Now, what you do with that money does not affect me. I mean, as an employer. Now, if I gave you money for a job well done, a hard day's work, you go home and hire a hitman and have your wife killed. How am I in any way guilty for that? And now the Supreme Court is saying that this is actually, I mean, where are they getting this from? If I gave you a hammer for your job and you went home and killed your wife with it, how am I responsible? I mean, we could get deep into this, and there's no possible way that you are responsible for what your employees do with their compensation. Now, I think this is the core issue here of this. And I just think they got it wrong. They got it straight up wrong. And this is going to open a whole can of worms for everybody else. And what I really want to see is the first time that a business owner of the Islamic persuasion starts to enforce some of his beliefs on his employees. I can't wait for this to happen. I really can't wait for this to happen. Because then you will see all these people like David Green and Stephen Green get all up in arms. And they'll be the first ones on the freaking gravy train trying to railroad these people, you know? Another interesting thing that I thought of during this whole thing is the idea of free will, okay? You have free will to do what you want. If there was a God, which I don't think there is, I haven't seen any evidence of him, and I have no reason to believe that there is. I don't believe in a God. I mean, if one came down tomorrow, yeah, sure. If somebody showed me some evidence, sure, I'd believe in one. But I don't see any evidence for one. That is my definition of my personal beliefs, my atheist beliefs. I like to call it agnostic atheism because I'm not sure, but I don't see any evidence for it. Now, this idea of free will, okay? You ask a Christian, why doesn't God just show up and show everybody that he's real and that, he has the power and he's the creator of the universe? And the answer you'll most likely get almost every time I've ever asked anybody this, it's always something about free will. It's something like, oh, well, if God just showed up and you knew he was real, then you couldn't sin because you would know he was real and you would know you're going to hell. And that is so much baloney. I'm sorry. Some of the things in the Bible are just so immoral that, I mean, even Christians, there's reasons why people don't do things in the Bible. People don't stone their children for misbehaving or talking back to them. People don't stone people for adultery anymore. You know why? Because people are smarter than that these days. People have an innate moral compass. And that's the reason why you don't see people getting stoned in America. It's the reason why you don't see people, that's why slavery went away. I mean, people have ingrained, compassion and just, they don't want to see things happen to other people that is unfair. Now, back to free will again. I'm straying again, but free will, okay? What's the first thing that these people like David Green, Ayatollah Khomeini, any of these totalitarian people or religious theocracy people, what's the first thing that they do when they get into power? They make all of their sins illegal. They make it illegal for adultery. They make it illegal for women to show their hair in public. They make it illegal for all these stupid things that are in their books for people to do. Now, isn't that taking away people's free will? Something that supposedly God wants us all to have because, I don't know, because he needs people to have, this life is just a test or something like that. It boggles my mind how people don't logically think through these things, okay? if God wanted you to have free will, okay, it wouldn't make any difference on whether or not he showed up or not. You'd still have the free will to disobey him. I mean, if he was God, he was up there, and he came down and he told you, don't go sleep with that girl. And, I mean, you would still do it anyway. He's going to forgive you anyway. You know? This whole thing is retarded. I mean, you have murderers and rapists that simply get off by saying sorry. You know, and I don't want to live in a world like that where somebody just gets away with things because they just say sorry. You know, you have priests doing things with little boys, and what do they get to do? They say sorry, and then they move them to another parish and don't really hear from them again. Now, this Hobby Lobby thing, this guy, David Green, I mean, if you look into this guy's past, he's fired people for foul language, using the Lord's name in vain, for somebody being gay, for getting a divorce, a heterosexual divorce, from a woman, from her husband, without getting prior approval from the company. Now, if that doesn't scream theocratic tyranny, I don't know what does. Now, I've said my piece. Let me know what you think. I think this Hobby Lobby decision is just such a can of worms, and it's going to cause all kinds of problems in the future. Thank you. Good night.